Salvage, more commonly known as scrap, is the main raw resource in Foxhole. We can find salvage on the map by pressing M and looking for the screw icon. If we hover over the screw icon, it will tell us how many nodes it can still spawn. A salvage field will start with 250 nodes in reserve. As soon as we farmed one of the nodes, after a couple of seconds it will respawn a new node out of the reserve pile. There are multiple ways to farm salvage. The first way is to use your hammer that comes with your starter kit. So if we press tab to go into our inventory, we can see the hammer in our first slot. So if we press 1 to equip the hammer and walk up to a salvage node, we can start farming the node by holding down the left mouse button. While we do that, we can see in the bottom left the amount of salvage we're gaining per hammer hit. Base amount we're gaining is 5 salvage per hit with the normal hammer. Another way of farming salvage is with the sledgehammer. If we make sure that it is in our equipment and we press 1 to equip it and walk up to a node and start hammering, you can see in the bottom left that the base rate at which we're gaining salvage with the sledgehammer is 10 at a time, meaning that using a sledgehammer is twice as effective as using a normal hammer to farm salvage. The third and final way of mining salvage on a salvage field is with a harvester. For that, you hop into the harvester, drive up to a salvage node, hold down the left mouse button, and that will start farming salvage. After a salvage field has been fully cleared, meaning there are no reserve nodes in the large field and all the nodes on the ground have been fully farmed, it will take 80 to 140 minutes roughly for it to start respawning and have a new reserve of 250 nodes. So make sure to always fully farm an entire salvage field so that it can start respawning quicker. Another way of getting salvage is through the use of a salvage mine. You can find salvage mines on the map by pressing M and looking for the salvage mine icon. A salvage mine will use fuel and over time produce a salvage. There are two ways of retrieving salvage from a salvage mine. The first one is to drive up to the salvage mine with a logi vehicle until it says in the bottom left, press E to use salvage mine. If you press E, we get the salvage mine menu. In the right side, we can see the stockpile of the mine, and if we shift click on the salvage icon there, it will start assembling salvage from the stockpile and put it into our logi truck. You can also get the salvage from a salvage mine with a resource container. You put a resource container on the back of a flatbed truck and drive it up to the salvage mine. Make sure that near the salvage mine is a crane. You hop in the crane and lift the container off the back of your flatbed and start aiming it at the front of the salvage mine. If you keep a close eye on the icon underneath your mouse cursor, you can see that when you're getting close to the front of the resource mine, the icon changes to 2 overlapping gears, which means you found the connection point. If you now left click, this will drop the resource container on the hidden loading pad for the salvage mine. Once it drops down, this will open up the menu of the salvage mine and you can start retrieving salvage into the resource container by shift clicking on the salvage icon in the stockpile panel. Once you're done filling up the resource container, you can package it by clicking the package icon in the actions panel, lifting the resource container up with the crane and putting it on the back of your flatbed and be off. To refuel a mine, we can simply use a jerry can of diesel that is in our inventory. If we click on it, it goes into our equipment, into our third slot. So we press 3 to equip the jerry can of diesel, walk up to the salvage mine and start fueling the salvage mine by holding down the left mouse button. If there is a fuel tanker within range, we can press E to open the salvage mine menu, and in the actions panel hit the refuel diesel button, and that will start refuel the mine that way. The maximum amount of salvage that a salvage mine can hold in its stockpile is 5,000 salvage. When it reaches 5,000 salvage in the salvage mine stockpile, the salvage mine will stop working until salvage is retrieved from the stockpile. To process salvage into usable materials, we have to bring the salvage to a refinery. To find the refinery, we press M to open the map and look for the hammer icon on the map. We drive up to the refinery till it says in the bottom left, press E to use refinery. If we press E, that will open up the refinery panel. On the left side, we will have the inventory of the refinery itself, the inventory of our truck. In the middle, the refinement panel and the actions panel, and on the right side, the stockpile of the refinery. If we look in the refinement panel, we can see that there are 3 options for salvage. We can turn salvage into basic materials, we can turn a salvage into diesel, and we can turn salvage into explosive materials. The refinement ratios are displayed between both icons, so making basic materials out of salvage will go at a ratio of 2:1, so 2 salvage will turn into 1 basic material. For diesel, a 100-liter jerry can of diesel will cost 10 salvage, and for explosive materials, to get 1 explosive material, we have to use 10 salvage. To refine salvage into basic materials, we can click on the salvage icon in front of the basic material icon, and this will pull 20 salvage from our truck into the refinery and start processing that, leading to 10 basic materials. To do this with diesel, we click on the salvage icon in front of the diesel, and this will pull 10 salvage from our truck and turn it into diesel. If we do the same thing with explosive materials and we click on the salvage icon in front of the explosive materials, it will pull 100 salvage from our truck into the refinery and start refining that. If we want to make just basic materials, we can hold shift and click the salvage icon in front of the basic material icon. This will put all the salvage that was in our truck into the refinery, and we'll start refining it into basic materials. The refined materials will stay in your personal queue in the refinery for 2 days and 1 hour. You can see the expiry time in the bottom of the refinement panel. Every time you start refining something, this timer gets reset to 2 days and 1 hour. If you want to refine materials for public use, you can always come to the refinement panel and instead of setting it to personal, set it to public. And if we now start refining salvage into basic materials, it will go straight into the stockpile of the refinery. And the same applies as with refining for yourself. If you want to refine all the salvage in the truck into a specific material for public use, you shift click on it and that will start refining salvage into basic materials and putting it in the stockpile of the refinery. To refine the resources that are in your resource container, you come to the refinery and you park your flatbed truck close to the side that has the crane. You hop out of your flatbed truck and you hop into the crane. You grab the container from the back of your flatbed truck and you put it on the loading dock area. Once the container is on the loading dock, it will open up the refinement panel of the refinery, and now in the refinement panel we can choose what we want to refine our salvage into. So if we want basic materials, we can shift click on the salvage icon in front of basic materials and that will pull the container empty and put all the salvage in queue to be refined into basic materials. To get our container back on our flatbed, we come to the actions panel and hit the package loading area equipment. Pick up the container and put it on the back of our flatbed truck.